Record. Good afternoon. My name is Carolyn Ziegler, and this is my language presentation. Language is defined as a system of combining arbitrary symbols to produce an infinite number of meaningful statements. Symbols can include things such as words, noises, or movements, such as with sign language. Language is completely arbitrary. Words such as tons, which is just 4 letters long, means incredibly huge things, while a word like nanogram, which is actually a decent sized word, means something that is incredibly small. And that is an example that our textbook gives whenever it comes to language being arbitrary. Syntax is defined as a set of rules for combining words, meaning how we structure a sentence. We often do not realize that we are using a syntax because we grew up with it, and each language has a different syntax. Displacement is defined as communicating ideas about objects that are not actually there. This is what we do most often. My computer can be in the other room and I can talk about it, or we can be talking about ideals such as economics. It's not really there. And one hypothesis that I wanted to bring up was the linguistics relativity hypothesis, which states that we see the world differently based on what language we speak. Someone who speaks English could see the world incredibly differently than someone who speaks Spanish. There are many different stages to language development. At 3 months old, we start to coo. At 5 months old, we start to babble and say different syllables. This is often when we interpret someone's first words. It's just a stringing together of syllables that eventually make a word. At 1 year, we can follow simple commands, which brings in our comprehensive vocabulary versus our active vocabulary. We are able to understand more than we are actually able to speak. And we can understand simple commands such as bring this to this person, because we're able to take out bring and a person's name, and we can then know that we are supposed to take this to them. At 2 years old, we begin the 2-word stage, meaning we can say mama, food, and that means we want food from our mother. And we're able to communicate better. At year 3, we start to learn a lot faster and at a very increased rate. But this starts to decline around at 5 or 6 and starts to level off. My real-world example of language is bilingualism. This is also one that the textbook talks about as well. It is the ability to speak 2 or more languages fluently. It is very common across the world. Most of the world's children, 2/3 in fact, actually speak more than one language. It was once discouraged and thought to be a hindrance on language development, but it is now encouraged because of all the benefits that it has been found to have. The benefits include a balanced proficiency in many things and an inhibition to distraction information, which means that because they constantly filter out 2 languages at once, it is harder for them to get distracted about other things. They're able to filter it out better, which increases their attention control. It also increases mental agility because they're able to bounce between different things rather quickly because of them having to be used to having multiple languages running through their head. And the linguistic relativity hypothesis comes back up because it has also been found in certain studies that people who speak more than one language can see the world from other perspectives easier. This can be found because this can be related back to this because, as it stated before, we see the world differently based on languages. And that means that it would be easier for us to see other people's perspective if we can speak their language as well. It also helps decrease brain function as we get older. It helps build up our cognitive reserve, which allows us to keep our brain healthy for longer. Thank you, and that was my presentation on language.